What's up, what's good, YouTube? I hope all is well and welcome back to the channel, guys. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the devs, they don't play this game. There's just no way there's any input from any of the devs that play this game. And if there is any input from a dev that plays this game, I can promise you they are a sub 1 KD player. And I've used my deductive reasoning skills to come to the conclusion that it's simply because they're not passionate about the project. Like the people that initially created Call of Duty. You know, the people that created the part of the franchise that made people like myself fall in love with it or get addicted. That's up to your interpretation. But if there was developers passionate about Call of Duty, we wouldn't see some of the most nonsensical weapon balancing in the history of video games. You know, Call of Duty it's kind of becoming like a spork. You guys remember sporks? They can't really hold enough liquid to be a spoon, although they try. The tips on the end of the fork aren't long enough or effective enough to pick up your food unless it's some kind of bland, flavorless mush, just like the crap they keep trying to force down our throats. And I don't know if that analogy made much sense to y'all, but remember when the losses weren't so low and the highs? Well, they were much higher. An example, in the Modern Warfare and Black Ops OG series, a kill felt rewarding as fuck. And a death to some cheesy shit like, well, remember Last Stand, which, by the way, if I can recall correctly, was pretty much the cheesiest it got back then, didn't feel so bad. It wasn't tilting enough to make you quit the game. Now, I'm not saying there wasn't that one guy that hopped onto COD like he's only trying to find a reason to hop off, but, you know, back then stuff like that just didn't feel as bad. Now it feels like we got infinite ways to lose our cool to some fucking cheesy bullshit in the game. Whether it be a cluster mind or them fucking Tonfas with built-in aimbot or, you know, an actual aimbot, and many, many other bullshit ways to lose fool. But you know what? Even if that bullshit was in the older games, I don't think the L's would have been as tilting as they are now because A, the game, well, it was much more polished from a balancing standpoint, and oh, back then, you were actually allowed to have fun. And I'm not talking about the, okay, Timmy, it's your turn to have some fun. I'm talking about the non-algorithmic generated fun. Anybody remember their hit registration going to shit after a couple of wins? Me neither. But we're starting to get off topic here. The issue being, these people...
What do you mean, you people?
These people do not play their own game. They are not passionate about COD either, and it definitely shows. Point in case, when's the last time you signed in to play some Call of Duty and were greeted with a message telling you about some cool new things that they've added, like mechanics or whatnot, and not some store update trying to encourage you to buy something, which is, by the way, 100% of what them start screen messages are about these days.
But Hoppa, if they're not passionate about the game, what are they passionate about?
You really want to know? Well, I kind of find it hilarious that I even got to bring this up, but when Nick Merckx said his piece about leaving the kids alone, they took his skin out of the game. There was probably more demand for that skin right then and there after he said what he said than there had been for any skin ever published in this game before. Well, you know, except for the yearly recycled Snoop Dogg skin, because you gotta buy that or you're not a real Call of Duty player. Oh, shizzle my nizzle. Wait a minute, can I get canceled in 2024 for saying nizzle? Fuck it, I don't care. We're gonna let it ride. But I promise it won't be a ride like this shit show of a fucking emotional roller coaster we're trying to enjoy that they call Call of Duty. In fact, in the last few years, I've experienced more and more of the same feelings playing Call of Duty as I do gambling at a casino. And after the last few years, it's become very apparent that in the casino, at least when it comes to the blackjack table, I have a little bit more control over the outcome than I do booting up and playing a match of Call of Duty. I mean, it's probably because they hired the same engineers that make algorithms for slot machines that allow you to lose fool, bringing you to the brink of cutting your losses and quitting, only to throw you a bone, or in industry terms, a near win, which is not a win by any stretch of the imagination. A near win is, for example, when a slot machine spits you out two identical symbols, followed by one that nearly misses being a high-yielding win, in an attempt to keep you playing. The psychology behind it is that you see the finish line in the distance and you just gotta keep going or else your efforts were gonna be in vain. That of a gaming company like Activision is that when you walk out of the casino, you may never return. I mean, the same may be said about COD, but if you do return, Call of Duty knows exactly where your threshold for quitting lies. Or if not, they're closer than ever before. And this time, they're gonna use that to eke out just a little bit more cash from you. Or playtime. Now, you may be saying to yourself, but Hoppa, casinos cost money to play in COD. You don't really have to buy anything. And you're right. But I can promise you, there's a major noticeable difference between the experiences of those that buy shit from the Call of Duty store versus those who don't. And yes, you are paying for it one way or the other. You're either paying them money for their clearly overpriced microtransactions, or you become cannon fodder by spending your time fighting an uphill battle against those that have actually spent money. Now, don't lie to me in the comments and say you've never had an encounter in which the enemy wins the gunfight with significantly less damage and skill displayed in the gunfight, but you noticed that he had insert featured on the front front page of the Call of Duty store skin. Funny how that works out. On the other hand, have you ever had that happen from, I don't know, somebody with a random default skin? If it was the default skin, I bet you they were cheating. But a lot of it, I think, can be chalked up to just being probably a generational thing. You know, the feeling obligated to spend money on shit like digital assets, which, by the way, you don't even own. Oh my God, Hoppy, it's like people today don't have a firm grasp on the value of $1. So yeah, that's honestly why I don't feel bad about VPNing, two-boxing, geofencing, etc. By the way, if you're interested, check the description or use code HOPPA at checkout and get yourself 10% off a Sweat VPN, make your lobbies a little bit easier. But for those reasons, that's why I don't really feel bad or have an issue with people holding the game makers to their word. They said ping was king, and that's verifiably untrue. Had they played the game, they'd know that. Or at least if they played the game at an average or above average skill level, I don't know, maybe take the advice of some pros or at least high-skilled content creators when they offer it, you know, for free. And I know how much you diversity hires over there at Activision love free shit. I mean, who wouldn't love free shit when you're getting paid 1/3 of industry standard? But then again, I've seen some of your TikToks about the day in the life of an insert tech company worker, and I've got to say, most of these people are barely even worth 1/3 of industry standard wages. But never mind, getting off topic again. If ping truly was king, using a geofence wouldn't matter then, right? If ping truly was king, you'd be playing on the closest servers, right? Spoiler alert, that's not the case, because if you perform too well on your local server for too many games, they're going to introduce some latency, you know, to give the other guys a chance. They said skill doesn't have much to do with these lobbies you're placed in. Really? Is that why I've got to not only VPN geofence, but also two-box on top of that to get into the same quality lobbies as somebody like Nixta, where the enemies rarely shoot back? By the way, more on that and how your favorite streamers are doing it coming up in a video in the near future, so definitely make sure you're subscribed to the channel with the notification bells enabled, and YouTube's not going to let you miss when I post that. But to be honest with y'all, I've only got 2 issues with the whole matchmaking manipulation. And I say manipulation lightly because it suggests it's a bad thing. But on the other hand, we're manipulated from the second we load into the game before we're even allowed to pick our game mode, when we're presented with the several ads that they show us encouraging us to buy what looks like AI generated skins. Personally, I'm in favor of bringing back whoever created the skins on the OG MW and Black Ops series, but for those reasons, I don't really care if somebody is doing one or all of those things. However, don't be a fucking turbo nerd and pretend that everybody gets those lobbies, and the reason that you're able to drop 60 plus when most people call 20 bombs a fucking banger these days is because I'm just him. No, you're a fucking fake moron. You're literally gaslighting the most naive section of the Call of Duty community. Because let's be honest with you, ain't nobody watching your gameplay and being like, wow, this guy's gonna do good at the World Series of Warzone. Oh, and one last thing before I get out of here, guys. Yeah, you're right. The gameplay that you're watching, it's manipulated with a super secret method that I'm going to gatekeep until I drop a video explaining how they all get into protected lobbies consistently, just like this one. And I get it, by my rants, you'd probably think that, you know, he's just a Call of Duty hater and, you know, he probably doesn't even play this game, which, if you follow me, you probably know that I do play this game quite a bit. I do love the Call of Duty franchise. There was a time in my life where I couldn't imagine playing another game other than Call of Duty. It just doesn't feel like the passion on the developer side is there anymore. If there's no passion with the people that are creating this game, you just can't expect people to be passionate about playing it. I just wish somebody would hit them with the old quote from John Ruskin. When love and skill work together, expect a masterpiece. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Mahalo.